I actually wanted to do a deeper dive into The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis's first book in the Chronicles of Narnia. It's a very inspirational, touching, cute, beautiful story. I feel like I used the word cute a lot in the last video, so I'm gonna tone that down. But reading it and seeing the nuances in C.S. Lewis's storytelling, I felt it was more powerful than the movies. Let's do a quick recap. I don't want this video to be too long, so a quick recap of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is the story of Peter, Lucy, Edmund, no. Peter, Susan, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, in that order, from oldest to youngest. They are 4 siblings who are sent away to London during the war. We don't get much more information than that. And they are sent to this old man's house. I believe it's their uncle, some distant relative, but he is a professor. And in his home, they find this wardrobe, or at least Lucy finds it initially, the youngest, and she finds herself in this magical land called Narnia, where there's this evil witch, as well as all these magical creatures. And because of the evil witch right now, who is ruling over Narnia, she has some of the creatures on her side, and the fawn, the half-goat creature, tells her she even has some of the trees, so be careful what you say out loud. Which I love that concept of the trees, or just nature listening to you, because there's also the fact that trees and flowers and nature are actually living and breathing like us. Anyway, so Lucy stumbles into Narnia, then she comes back home, she tries to tell her siblings, and they want to believe her, or at least the oldest 2 do, but when they go to check the wardrobe, there's nothing. So they think she's like getting a little too creative. A little while later, Edmund stumbles into Narnia. He makes an agreement with the evil witch to bring his siblings into Narnia, even though he has a feeling that's not a good idea, but he makes an agreement with the evil witch to bring his siblings to Narnia so that he can become king of Narnia. When he comes back, he acts as though Lucy is in fact crazy, but very soon after, they all stumble into Narnia. They make their way in. There's this prophecy that 2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve will come into Narnia, and they will become the new kings and queens. And they also learn about Aslan, who is the true king of Narnia and who is a lion. They get to meet Aslan, and they see how regal and powerful and amazing and just beautiful he is. And together they fight to save Narnia, and in order for him to do that, he does have to sacrifice himself to save Edmund, who had made that deal with the witch. But he comes back to life. They destroy the evil witch's army, and Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy are crowned kings and queens. Beautiful story, beautiful story. Now, what I wanted to talk about is I love the way that C.S. Lewis talks about power or authority. One of the things that I walked away with, and it's like I had a notion about it before, but I like the way it kind of comes to life in this story. While Aslan is away, technically the witch is in charge, or she has crowned herself Queen of Narnia, and she's made the entirety of Narnia cold and winter, and she believes she has all of this power. But the moment that Aslan comes into Narnia, the winter starts to disappear. The moment that Aslan's name is mentioned, she is afraid. And the moment that Aslan's name is mentioned, it causes fear in the hearts of some, like those who are on the witch's side. And it kind of brings this like peace and relief to those who are on the good side. So in my head, my conclusion or my thought process is the difference between power and authority, the difference between kind of like the difference between someone who's bossy and someone who's a leader, the difference between someone who makes demands but someone whose very presence is demanding. The way that Aslan is described, he doesn't actually say all that much, but whenever people are in his presence or do have a conversation with him, it seems like there is almost always a shift. When the children first come across Aslan, they're nervous, they don't want to approach, even the other animals don't really want to approach. But then they're like, okay, we have to do this. They stand before Aslan and they greet him. He welcomes them, and almost immediately all their nervousness and fear goes away. But I still like the fact that it doesn't make it seem as though Aslan is tame and peaceful and he's not a threat, because at one point they're asking Mr. Beaver, is he, if he's a lion, is he safe? Are we gonna get eaten? Are we good? He says, of course he isn't safe, but he's good. And it kind of places this distinction between what is good. In our heads, I think sometimes we think that if something is good, it's going to be safe. If something is good, then it's going to be beneficial for us. If something is good, then it's going to want the same things that we want, because we're kind of selfish human beings, because we're human. But sometimes what's good isn't what we want. Sometimes what is actually good, or what is actually kind, is the opposite direction of where we're trying to go. Kind of like there was a scene where after the battle, Lucy wants to save her brother's life. She gives him this potion that's going to make sure that he's healthy and safe, but she wants to stay by his side and wait and confirm that he's all right. And Aslan is telling her, you need to go to the rest of the people out on the battlefield who risked their lives for you and for everybody. And she says, yes, but wait a minute. And he says, must more people die for your brother? And it kind of recenters her and reminds her, oh, that's right. There are people dying. As much as I love my brother and I want to sit here and wait and confirm that he's all right, there are people who are dying and I can't sit around and wait. So I like that. I like that this story kind of brings attention to what is real power, real authority, real leadership, and what does it actually mean to be good. But then the other side, the other thing that I like too is what's his name? Edmund, the youngest brother, the kind of middle child. From the beginning, they talk about his attitude and behaviors, and they kind of show that he's a bit rotten. Like, I think you read it and you're like, I don't really like this kid. He's a bit of a bully, and they actually describe him as that. When he steps into Narnia, he consumes the witch's food, and it's basically this addictive thing that makes you want more, and so you're willing to sell out your family for it. But if you really think about it, he was kind of already ready to sell out his family because he was kind of rotten. And when he came back, instead of admitting that he had been to Narnia, even for the sake of his plan to bring them there so he could become the sole king, instead of admitting it, he would rather bully his younger sister and make her seem like she's crazy, even though she saw you. You both were in Narnia. She saw you in Narnia. And instead of just admitting, yeah, we were there, you would rather have the others continue to think that she's lying and that she's crazy. But it backfires because the other two, the oldest, are actually decent siblings and they love their siblings. So instead, they make this comment about his character, that he likes to beat down on those who are smaller than him, that he's a bully. So they come into Narnia, they meet Mr. Beaver, they're on their journey to meet Aslan. It comes to everyone's attention that he is a liar, he had been in Narnia, and they don't even have any words for how disgusting that behavior is. And in his mind, he's thinking, oh, you're all just stuck up. But it just continues to show his character, and at some point he disappears to go see the evil witch, and when they realize that he's gone, his siblings, even though he's a bit of a brat, they want to go save him. But Mr. Beaver says, I took one look at him and I thought, treacherous. So they kind of build up his character or to describe him as a person. And while I tend to be a little strong, and if I don't like you in a character, if I don't like a character, I might stick to not liking them. There needs to be a giant redemption arc for me to come back. But instead, this is the subtlest, gentlest redemption arc where he is saved from the White Witch by Aslan. and he has a conversation with Aslan that no one else hears. It's never addressed. It's not even talked about in the book. We don't know what Aslan said to Edmund. All we know is that it's as though there's a complete transformation in his character, and as though he is not the same person he was then as he is now. The person that betrayed his family, that betrayed his sister, that lied, that was so repugnant is gone. And to the point that the next day when the witch says, no, one of yours, meaning Edmund, is mine, and so he has to die, there's no fear or self-consciousness, because it's like he's no longer that person, so he doesn't even realize that they're talking about him. And again, that goes back to power and leadership and authority, that you have the ability to transform the people around you. But he's so transformed, and this is confirmed by the fact that in the end they say that he did so much in the battle that he saved a lot of lives. And when they're describing the kings and queen, when they're describing how Peter and Susan and Edmund and Lucy were crowned king and queen, they describe them all, and Edmund is described as, Edmund was a graver and quieter man than Peter, and great in counsel and judgment. He was called King Edmund the Just, which is so different from how he began. And it serves as a gentle reminder, I feel, to me, the reader, that while people can be repugnant at times, we do have to remember that people are allowed to change, that people are allowed to transform, and sometimes they can even transform into the complete opposite of what they were. And I think that's beautiful. I think it's encouraging, and it, especially right now, since we do have cancel culture and we do have a lot of people doing some horrible things, I think sometimes we do also need to remember that people, in a way, are the results of their environments. They do mention the story that he kind of became more repugnant when he had gone to a certain boarding school. But when he was around Aslan and his family and in Narnia, he became Edmund, King Edmund the Just. And the last thing that I also like, one of my favorite scenes is after they were crowned kings and queens, Aslan kind of disappears, and the children say that they didn't comment on it because they didn't make a comment on it because they'd already been told that he's wild and he's not tame, and so he's going to come and go. Yeah, that he'll be coming and going. One day you'll see him and another you won't. He doesn't like being tied down, and of course, he has other countries to attend to. It's quite all right. He'll often drop in, only you mustn't press him. He's wild, you know, not like a tame lion. I don't know what it is. I think I just like the optics of this very powerful leader who is wild and free and has so much authority that they change atmospheres, but also that they're not tame. They're just wild. And so it's not so much about you predicting them or feeling safe around them. It's this constant reminder that he's not tame, he's not safe, he's not free for you. It's almost like more like you're for him, but he's good and he's powerful and he's a leader. Yeah. Anyway, that was my discussion on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It is time for me to go. In our next video, I will be talking about I will be talking about The Island of the Blue Dolphins. Also, if you have seen or watched or read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, or the movie produced by I don't know who and directed by I don't know who, let me know in the comments and let me know some of your favorite scenes or quotes, or if you agree with my analyses or have your own. Let us discuss, because I love a good book discussion. All right, bye.
Some Turkish delight? Yes, please. Tell me, do you have any brothers and sisters?